Hello, all my podcast listeners. Today's episode is going to be in English. Usually it's in Estonian, but today it's going to be in English. I'm DALÍ, as usual, as you already know, and today I'm here with Jana Solom sitting next to me, and with Porangui'd sitting next to the screen, the other side of the world.
Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning for us, and good evening to you. Right?
That's right. That's right.
You
Good
are
evening.
coming to Estonia. You are doing here on 17th of August. You are doing here your only concert tour, like your only concert here in Baltics, and you're also doing a beautiful retreat here in Estonia. Is it your first time coming to this part of the world?
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, I'm really excited. Jana, who's here with us this morning, she came all the way over to the desert here in southwest of the United States and joined us for a Music as Medicine retreat, one of the retreats we offer, which are based in a really deep container where we get to get into music for the purpose of healing and authentic expression. And so she came over, and after we went through this deep portal together at the end, she's like, "You have to bring this to Estonia." And I was like, "Yes, of course, let's do it." So we're actually going to be on tour for 2 months in Europe. We leave on the 20th, so very soon, starting in Portugal, and then we go all over Europe. And Estonia is one of our spots that we're super excited because we're going to do a performance, a concert, and then the retreat. So for the very first time.
When I was, at the moment, I'm attending the Mind Valley University, and one guy who heard that you are coming to Estonia, he was like so amazed and so like even like a little bit like shocked, like why? How can you get him? How can you get him here? And some other people also who have talked about you have used like the biggest words I've heard someone talking about someone else. What is it you do that people are so amazed of?
Oh, that's a great question. What is it? I don't know what part makes them feel extra amazed, but my work is multifaceted. I'm part musician, artist, and I'm also part educator and healer. And that's been my calling my whole life. I have a pretty mixed cultural heritage. I come originally born in Brazil, and my father's from Mexico, my mother's from Brazil, and I grew up bouncing between all three parts of the Americas, ending up in the southwest of the United States, just a few hours from the Navajo Nation, from the reservation. And so I've had a lot of contact and experience with a lot of the indigenous peoples here and grew up in these ways. And so for me, it's like growing up with all these cultures, in Portuguese, in Espanol, and in English. For me, it's my whole life has been dedicated to world bridging, really being able to bring different information back and forth between different cultures and different peoples, but then also between the seen and the unseen. And so what I mean by that might be too abstract for some. So being able to listen to the subtlety, the nuance, the things that are unsaid, the unseeable things in the world, if you will, the things that science has a hard time maybe measuring or being able to talk about. The kind of where the most interesting things actually happen, and often where healing comes from, and some people refer to it as spirit. And so being able to bridge into those worlds and then bring those back into this material, seen world. And so I do that in different ways. Probably, one of my most powerful ways that I do that is through the stage, in performance, being able to create essentially a container where the audience can entrain to this energy, to this sound that opens up a portal, for healing and transformation. Very similar to maybe what some people experience through ceremony, maybe with experiences with, plant medicine, but they don't need any plant medicine. It's just through the music and through the dance. And that's really at the core. And so when I created this, what is essentially a foundation, this educational platform called Music as Medicine, that was at the core of it, because a lot of people would come to me, and I have a lot of history and work in indigenous ways, working with plant teachers and master teachers. And part of my work is helping individuals discover how to access these places and be able to navigate these realms just using their own voice, their own body, their own breath, their own dance and movement in authentic expression. And I found that that actually has all the information just through music alone. Hence, it is the medicine. And once someone has those keys, they don't depend on anything. Then they become empowered to actually be able to access many worlds, be able to expand their own consciousness, and be able to root themselves deeper into the earth and their collective family with all our relations, not just the human family, but all beings of this world. So that's really at the core of the work. And I think, many people come to me through different avenues, whether that be through my music or whether that be through my healing work or through the retreats or through the education. You know, I teach all over the world. When I go to festivals, I always try to add a component of education, even in our shows. And so, this is kind of, I think, what brought Jana. Jana can speak to it more. But, it was just felt so natural to finally come and bring for the first time to across the pond, as they say, to bring it over to Europe and be able to share this, I think with our relatives over there where you guys are, and be able to really bring an offering, I think that's going to be very, very healing and very deep and very profound. So that's my intention in my prayer.
Thank you so much, Porangi. And you do have also scientific background, no? I mean, you come from the science world, if I'm not mistaken. I heard Aubrey Marker sharing about that. Or at some podcast long ago. This is how you caught my attention, I think, in the first place already years ago. You want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Yeah. So my academic background. So when I grew up, as I mentioned, really cross-culturally bouncing around my whole childhood. And then I really landed in the Southwest, and I went to a Jesuit school, actually, and that's where I really got my English strong and dove into, academics and got a full scholarship to go to Duke University, which is an Ivy League university in North Carolina. And Duke is a research center. It's kind of been the hub, if you will, one of the big hubs for biomedical science and research. And so I got into, when I was there, I thought I was going to be a doctor. I was the first in my family to go to, an Ivy League kind of school. And so they, were all like, okay, you're going to do that. And I got into the medical system and started my process as a medical, undergrad. And, I quickly became disenchanted. To be honest, I started to shadow with a doctor in the pediatrics ward, and we would see burn victims. So children who'd had third-degree, very heavy burning were flown in everywhere to Duke Medical from the whole southern United States. And, I saw quickly working with the doctors there that the medical model was so broken. The allopathic, when I'm talking about the allopathic medicine, Western medicine, and so oriented around, really not developing and cultivating a relationship, which is where the deeper parts of healing have to happen. It's very much, this very transactional experience. It's much more of a business, if you will, and not a good business at that. A business is very extractive and that is very reductionist and leaves really the patient, the individual, the soul, wounded and hurt and traumatized. And maybe it treats the symptoms, but never really gets to the underlying cause. And so, in that process, I became really disenchanted, and I ended up actually finding this other program at Duke with some other students I became very connected to. They were upper students, like seniors, and they took me under their wing, and they kind of started to show me, and they said, there's a program called Program 2 that was at Duke. It was one of the few universities, I think Princeton and Duke offered this. And essentially, if you could defend to a board of doctors why you deserve this, you could literally design your own major, and especially if it was interdisciplinary. So I started this process, and I actually was accepted, and as part of it, you have to write an honors thesis. It's kind of like going through a doctoral thing, but you're doing it already at kind of the early stage at undergrad level. And so mine was titled Healing Through Music and Dance, Psychological and Cultural Perspectives. And so essentially I brought together the music department, the dance department, neuroscience, cultural anthropology, and philosophy, and I kind of wove them together into this course of study, which honestly, I haven't stopped. Like, it's been my whole life's work ever since. I've kind of, it's ongoing. And so for me, the question that I continue to explore, and through an academic model, and it is looking at, what is it about movement and sound that we find in all cultures around the entire world. Doesn't matter where you look. It's always there, and it's always connected to healing. So all peoples have some form of movement and sound, right? Or music and dance that help us to integrate, to embody, to become more connected, to become more whole. And when we look at, and I'm going to use these terms, so excuse me, but like, when we look at mainstream culture, or I guess you could say corporate culture, consumer culture, the one like the Pepsi and the Coca-Cola, right? This kind of culture that has been, in a form, it's a new wave of colonization, right? That has basically colonized all of us into, just be a good consumer, buy the thing that you don't really need, and turns us into this kind of, bit of a soulless, thing. And it very extractive, right? It subtly is taking our energy and taking our attention. All the devices, all the technology is, of course, built now to support that. Artificial intelligence is also supporting this. And so we have to be really careful, because if you look at it at the core, it's taking us away from our power to be authors. In an author or a creator author comes into the word authority. And so we lose our authority and our autonomy and our sovereignty, and we become actually very dependent then, and we lose our power, our authentic power. And so our voice, which is the original instrument in the human body, as well as the drum, right? It connects us immediately to the immediacy of our ability to create, and create not for some evolutionary purpose. What's beautiful about music is that music has no clear evolutionary purpose, and yet it's at the core of everything. What it means to be a human being, at the core of our creativity, we're all connected to the original drum, the sound of our mother's heartbeat in the amniotic fluid, right? We're all connected to that original breath when we heard the sound of our mother breathing. And so then the sound of our heart, the very first things we heard, and that we entrain to our nervous system. And so at the core of this, when we come back to music and cultivate our relationship to music that maybe has been totally dormant or maybe shut down, perhaps there's trauma because, we grew up, maybe we were just a young child having a blast, making all kinds of sounds. And then someone said, hey, be quiet, shut up. And maybe we believe them. Oh, you sound terrible, stop that. And so these things, we believe these things, they became agreements, and then they became literally the suppression of our authenticity, of our expression. And then sometimes this creates a scarring. There's a trauma there. And so this trauma gets buried and buried and buried, and we become silenced. And this works very well for the powers that be that want us to be good consumers, because they don't want to hear us talk too much. They just want you to buy the thing. And so at the core of this, there's a lot of layers, and I hope I'm doing it justice here, but we unpack those layers through something that's very enjoyable, that's very fun, which is making music together and dancing together. And yet we're doing actually trauma work. We're going deep, and we're unraveling these scar tissue, these old wounds, these old ways that we've been silenced, and we're opening ourselves back into our authentic expression. And we're being given the tools to be able to do that courageously, and to feel and fully embodied, and to be able to own that. And it's a relationship that we deepen. And it's like, it's like we're relearning something, and we're cultivating our relationship to music, to sound, to movement, which are fundamental to the human experience. And so, yeah, at the core, that I think is the essence that I try to transmit, and I'm doing that even on stage, in a performance, I'm reaching many people that way. But in the retreat, container, it's this beautiful container where we have a small group, an intimate group, 20, 30 people. And so over the course of 6 days, we get to go really deep and get to enter into these layers, and then be held in a very safe way so that we can unravel those things. And then we emerge on the other side more whole than we've ever been, more connected, and with superpowers, with our authority intact, which then when we come into contact with society and with this, consumer culture, if you will, there's just a whole new perspective and ability to navigate, I think, that is really essential now at this time. And so that's my core mission and prayer for all of our human family, because honestly, our world needs it. Without this at this time, I think we're really in trouble. So that's the way I'm able to bring my superpowers, if you will, to help further, our mending of the hoop of life.
Wow, that sounds so deep, so important, and so just like, oh my God,
eye-opening.
exactly. that the concert name is Beauty Way. What do you mean by that? Or why it's the concert name by like this?
Yeah, yeah. So Beauty Way is the name of the album. So I just released actually there's another album. There's two albums. We just released a second album this Friday. It's a live album. But my last studio album, which came out on April 21st, is called Beauty Way. And we've been touring this. And the album, which is it's connected to a concept, a principle, which comes from the Navajo people. The Navajo people, they call themselves Dene. Dene is their name for people in their language and is what they call themselves. Navajo is a colonized name. So the Dene people, they have a word that is hojon. And hojon in their language, it means this concept of beauty. And for them, beauty isn't this like narcissistic idea of beauty, you know, that's like, you know, something that looks beautiful. Beauty is more, and hojon is more of a quality, a principle of how to live life. And so it's an invitation. It asks a question. It says, you know, how do I make everything that I touch more beautiful than I found it? And so it's an invitation. And so we get to answer this question by the way we live, by the way we express ourselves. And so in everything that we do and the way that we move through the world, you know, it's like, how do I show up to my life, to my relationships, into a performance, into this conversation? And how do I leave you and myself and everything more beautiful than when we arrived? And it's a very simple thing. And yet it's so deep, because if we all practice this in our own little way, it actually results in the whole world transforming. And that's really the prayer of the album. And the album is a set of 12 songs that are very deep and cover a lot of ground, and is very lyrical. And it's also deep grooves, you know, for movement as well. And so the songs really tell this story. And I open the album with an opening prayer and a closing prayer, and they are in the spoken word of Dene, by our chief, a Sundance chief, who's Navajo. And he does the opening, and then his first lady, his partner, she does the closing. So those are like the bookends of the album, and they're prayers for healing, for awakening. And so, yeah, I invite, you know, any listeners out there, if they haven't yet, definitely check out the album. It's on Spotify and iTunes and all the things, or through my website, Porangui'd.com, and they can hear there and support us too on Bandcamp. But yeah, the album's really something special. And so we're going to be touring that. We're bringing those songs. And the trick is that, and this is kind of something I'll segue, is what I do in live performance is totally improvised. And so it's kind of an interesting dance for me, because there's a studio album, but then when I'm in the moment, it just happens. I'm going to create something that's original to the moment for the people who are there. So no two shows are ever alike. And that's by design. And so the release that we just did on this Friday, the 14th of July, it's called Antigua, in Sugar Shack Sessions, which is basically it's a channel, YouTube channel. We actually recorded this live performance at this place in Florida, and they captured it beautifully on video. So it's on their channel on YouTube, so you can see me perform live, weaving kind of the magic of these songs, and it's beautifully recorded. And then now it just got released, the full album, as an album, the recordings of the live performance. So it's a live performance, so you can get a sense about the way that I alchemize and create in the moment. So again, yeah, check that out. It's called Antigua, and that's also available on Spotify and my website and all the channels. So yeah.
I just saw it coming out, and I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, yes. Like, this amazing, you know, like what I feel with your music is somehow it activates you, like the person who listens to it, like the joy and like breaking free. Like I feel you embody a lot of freedom. And what you bring to the table is authentic expression. And I would not be where I am today without you. Your music, the way you are, the way you teach, has taught me so much. I've grown humongously thanks to you, and I would never be here without your teaching. So this is why I am bringing or being the bridge in between Sedona and Estonia this time, to bring this healing, because I received it, and truly from my heart, I really want, like, I want my closest friends, of course, first to experience this, but also everybody who feels the call, because I do understand not everybody is ready for this. But then again, also to know that I feel like you are the safest person to do this expansion with, because the unconditional love and support that you hold is like so healing. It's healing just to experience you in the space. So
I think for the regular person, it sounds a little bit like mystical. Like, I mean, like, for what I have to be ready for, or like what it means that maybe some of us are not ready. I mean, it's music, it's dancing, it's like a journey, and like yeah, no, what like for what like people should be ready for. How could you explain it?
it's like their own unlocking. It's what I feel what Ashley and Porangi both bring is like the way we move through the sound is going to be unlocking us from the old imprints. And something that I noticed and I see Estonian holds is this very long past of pain, and the pain body, the genetic code, it's super traumatized from the all the war situation, the colonization, all what's happened here. And it's not too far. It's still very fresh in the field, and people need like a lot of power, like to experience this enormous joy, to really connect to that and to understand that it is safe, it is allowed, it is possible, it is available. And most of the people don't even know how far they can stretch in the joy. They think the joy is like, you know, I'm happy, but there's a deeper layer in the freedom of expression, and you definitely bring that. And it is mystical. For me, it has been one of my subtlest, purest, and most mystical experiences. Your shows, performances, and the way both of you and Ashley open this portal for the shift in people.
Get this, I've heard that people go crazy in your concerts and journeys, and this is something like how it feels or how it looks like. It's not crazy about something like madness or something negative, but crazy in happiness.
Crazy wild.
Crazy wild. Yeah. I mean, you could say it's ecstatic. It's like an ecstatic energy, you know, there's a whole movement, right, of ecstatic dance, which is like, is related, if you will. It overlaps in a Venn diagram, you know, there's like connections there. But I'd say what's in especially in the container that we create, so in the live performance and also in the retreat to some degree, you know, we're creating a container, and this is what's different, I think, for a lot of people. It's like a lot of people experience music, live music, often in, say, a club or a bar, or, you know, some kind of venue where often there's alcohol being sold, you know, and there's kind of like, and that's part of the culture, is that you have to, in order to let yourself go, and in order to be free, literally in your expression, you have to kind of lubricate, you know, you have to take something, you have to kind of, you know, that'll help you to get out of your default mode. And so what happens is that in this space, we create a container that's intentional, and this agreement field where it's safe to be your authentic self on the dance floor. It's safe to be your authentic self, to show up with all of it, your perfect imperfection. And that's the beauty, that's the medicine with the music. And when the music hits you, it's able to then innervate you in your presence, rather than being checked out or kind of, you know, inebriated or drunk or whatever. You know, you're actually able to be washed through with the sound, and the sound actually is able to lift you and take you, you know. And so there's this, it's a little bit different, you know, because the songs, the way I perform, you know, it's not like, here's a song, all right, that's that song, now I'm going to play this song. And it's not like that, right? It's more like akin to a DJ, right? Only instead of being a DJ, I'm creating it all live. So everything is organic and live, but I'm still weaving it as one man. I have this crazy spaceship that I built that is like a flow machine. And essentially I have all the instruments that I travel with. And, you know, there's probably like 40 instruments, if you counted everything. And I'm basically waving and like painting with sound, right? And so I'm painting to what is in the room, to what is the energy. Where are we? You know, what is alive right now? What needs to happen right now to meet this energy? And it changes. And so like a DJ listening to like, okay, this track is working. No. Now I'm going to mix into this track, you know, at least like real DJs. Of course, there's DJs now, everybody's a DJ, and now it's like all programmed and like, you know, they play the same set. but I mean like the OG, right? The ones who are like listening and like, oh, now we need to go here. And it's like a journey, you know, and essentially it's a seamless journey that's taking us. And in this way, you feel held by the sound and the music, and of course the space itself and the community, in a way that you can really let go and trust. And there's something so healing when that happens from a place of presence and sobriety. Because there's something magical, because it's like you leave that experience and you're like, wow, I never thought I could do that without having, 4 drinks or whatever, you know what I mean? Or being high on something, it's remarkable. And the retreat, we go deeper into that because the retreat empowers you. And so this is where so it's like everybody's ready for a show. I mean, I think, I really, that's how, I mean, I played for tens of thousands of people. I just played in Vision Festival for 10,000 people, on the Soul stage. And it was the highlight of the festival. It's like people left there. It was the last show set of the night on Sunday at the end of the festival. And it's like, you could feel the energy, right? Because it had all been DJs, all electronic, really hard, edgy music. And then it was like bringing this kind of essentially a tribal offering, a prayer that is also dance music, but it's live. It's not some recording from another time. It's made now just for the people there. And so there's like this magic that happens, it's a risk for me. It could go wrong. The technology could fail. Like, all of it is like, I have to be very vulnerable too. I don't know if it's going to happen, what's going to happen. And so it's part of it is that vulnerability gives permission for others to also be vulnerable. It's like we're all there in the rawness of our human experience. And there's something so beautiful and primordial in that. And then when it happens, when it ignites, it's just like, it's ecstatic. It's hard to put into words, until you're in it and you can feel it palpably. But this is the prayer. This is what I've been, cultivating my whole life. And for me to finally get to bring this to Europe, in this way, I've played Boom Festival and Azora Fest, in Hungary, but in a couple little shows. But we played All About Love in the UK last summer. But this is going to be the first time bringing it like this way, for 2 months, traveling all over Europe and activating the communities. And so I just feel like Estonia is just so ripe. And, just speaking with Jana, I think there's a really special way that we're going to be able to create the portal there. And then for those who are ready to go deeper and to be empowered in how to actually be able to create these portals themselves through their voice, through their body, through building community, that's basically the tool set that they get in the retreat. Of course, going through their own journey with it. And so it's ecstatic for a week.
Something that I wanted to add is that I feel that a lot of DJs, or when you go to music or dance scenery, you dance, but you don't have a teacher, you don't have a guide. It's sort of like you're not rooted, you're unrooted. You are trying to do something, but there's nobody showing you the way. But what I feel that you embody is the way. It's the rooted healer way, like you really can connect to the source to understand how to do it the right way without damaging yourself or creating extra trauma, just like you said.
And this is something that the AI can never replace.
No.
I mean, AI can do music, right? But it can never replace the live experience or the live journey that you are offering, and you are like, wow.
Yeah, thank God.
Anyway, thank God.
Yeah, that's we have some things. Hopefully, we can keep sacred and authentic and unique to us as humans. Otherwise, we become kind of irrelevant, huh? It's like what are we doing? We're making a mess. So I think that's it. It's like, how are we making it more beautiful? So coming back to that concept of Hojong and beauty way is like my prayer for everyone that comes into the space in the concert or in the retreat is that they leave there feeling more beautiful than when they came. They feel more whole. They feel more connected.
So beautiful. I'm so looking forward the 17th of August for the concert, and whoever feels that they are ready also for the retreat, and the retreat dates in Estonia are 19 to 24 of August. And thank you for sharing your visions, your energy, thank you for your time and your patience before the recording. We really needed some help. So thank you. And I'm so looking forward to meet you and to experience your journey in live. And totally totally invite everybody who are listening to the podcast or who are seeing the anyway the information somewhere, like my friends
Yeah.
and all the listeners to enjoy the concert and retreat, of course.
Yeah, we have 250 spaces for that space, so it's not so big.
Mm-hmm.
And
So get tickets soon. Yeah. Yeah, 250. Yeah. And then the retreat, if anyone wants to go deeper with us, of course, the registration and all the information is on my website, porangui.com, porangui.com. And I think we'll probably put it in the notes. And yeah, and then if Jana also just want to thank you so much, everyone. Definitely give Jana a bunch of love and gratitude because she had the courage to come all the way to the United States to meet me and to literally drop in and be like, you have to come to Estonia. I'm like, okay, let's go. So it's really thank you, Jana, for making it possible, and so good to meet you, Dali. And yeah, thank you as well. It's an honor to get to kind of share, drop in more, and I'm looking forward to us connecting when I come over here in just a little bit.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so happy.
Yeah, take good care.
No nii, see intervjuu Porangui'ga tundus tõesti selline, et oh my god, see 17. august tundub nii kaugel ja tahaks juba kohe seda kontsert-rännakut tunda. Aga räägime sinuga natukene sellest retriidist, et 6 päeva, 5 ööd. Kuidas see erineb siis sellest 3-tunnisest kontserdist või mis selle retriidi see essents on?
No kontsert on kindlasti see on nagu siuke eelmaitse või sissejuhatus sellesse, mis sügavusse me retriidil lähme. Ja sellel kontserdil seekord ta teeb ka siukse live workshopi, kas me peaks vaatama inimesi? Ühesõnaga, sellel kontserdil me teeme live workshopiga alguses, kus siis julgemad saavad kogeda, mis tähendab tema ruumis oma hääle avamine, endaga ühendumine. Ja siis see tantsurännak pakume seal ka veel Dalí kakaod, et kõigil oleks kergem avarduda ja et me tuleksime tõesti keha hävitavatelt vahenditelt keha tervendavate vahendite peale ja omaenda arenguteekonnal olen Porangui kontsertitel korduval käinud, alati olnud esiliinis, kui kuskilgi toimub, ma olen platsis, lihtsalt, et ise seda kogeda ja see ühendus saada, mis läbi tema striimib. Ja mul oli, ütleme, et see oli minu jaoks isegi päris suur julgustükk otsustada, ma ikka nutsin, kui ma otsustasin, et ma lähen sellele retriidile, sest et mu keha sai aru, mis see tähendab mu jaoks. Ma sain aru, millist kvanthüpet ma sinna tegema lähen ja kui suure muutuse ja kui palju vastutust ma hakkan võtma oma elu eest sellest hetkest, kui ma sinna lähen. Et enam ei ole playing small, et enam ei saa väikselt mängida, et nüüd ma sain aru, et see on väga suur läbimurdev punkt mu elus. Ja nii see oli ka, et kui me sinna kohale jõudsin, ma ei teadnud, mida oodata, ma olin kuidagi hästi hirmul ja samas ka natuke elevil. Ja samas, kui ma sinna jõudsin, siis ma nägin, et kõik need inimesed, kes sinna olid tulnud, olid nii ägedad, seal oli üle maailma nagu nii ägedaid inimesi ja tuleb ka Eestisse, et meil on tõesti inimesi tuleb Rootsist ja Sedoonast isegi ja ka mujalt Saksamaalt tuleb, kuna ka Eesti retriit on tegelikult soodsam kui teised, mis oli minu palve, et ennekõike minu oma sõpradel oleks kergus valida tulla ja kogeda seda ruumi, et me Eestis saaksime selle hüppe üheskoos ära teha, et koos on parem, et ega siin üksi ei jaksa õlle ju. Vabandust, ma ei taha mingit hinnanguid anda, aga ütleme, et me kõik vajame sügavamat ühendust endaga ja me vajame neid eeskujusid, kes oleks selle ära kehastunud, sest et alles siis, kui üks meist kehastab seda energiat, siis teine saab seda transmissionit kogeda läbi selle inimese, et see on nagu siuke, me oleme kogu aeg teineteisele emaks ja isaks ja õpime teineteise pealt ja peegelneuronitega, et kuidas siis, mis tunne on, kui kehas ei ole nii palju traumat, mis tunne on, kui on vabadus ja meil kõigil on traumad, sünnieelsed, sünnijärgsed, see on kõigil, see on fakt, et siin täiesti tervet inimest ei ole olemas, aga need, kes on saanud vabaks või kogenud seda vabaduse ruumi ja need shiftid enda sees ära teinud, see energia, mis nad kannavad, ainuüksi on juba tervendav ja siis me saame osa sellest ja muutume meie, muutub ka meie maailm. Ja arvestades seda, kus me praegu oleme, ma tunnen, et väga on vaja seda, et rahva käes oleks jõud, et oleks ühendus, et oleks koostöö, et oleks selge visioon, kuhu me liigume ja et meil oleks päris tugevad eeskujud, kes tõusevad ja näitavad seda teed, mis ei ole siis lihtsalt mingisugune tee, et lähme sinna, sealt saab raha, vaid et mis on tee, mis ühendab meid tagasi pärimuskultuuri, oma juurte juurde ja kuidas me hakkame harmooniliselt kasvama sümbiootilise struktuuris siis teineteist toetama, nii et enam ei ole see, et kellel on rohkem ja kes on parem, vaid küsimus on see, et kuidas me saame rohkem teineteise jaoks olemas olla, sest et tegelikult see rõõm ja tänutunne, mis me kogeme, see ei tule reeglina asjadest, see ei tule numbrist pangakontol, see tuleb sellest tundest, et see, mida sa oled loonud, it makes a difference. Inimesed on võitnud, inimesed on õnnelikud, nad on saanud midagi, mis on nende elu muutnud paremuse suunas.
Jah, et see ongi see missiooni järgi elamine, mitte plaani järgi elamine või mingi või siis selle visiooni tagaajamine, mitte siis mingisuguste plaanide tagaajamine, on ju. Et see sügavus ja kõik see täiega resoneerub. Kes on selle retriidi sihtgrupp, kes peaks tulema, kas on juba nagu nii-öelda, peab olema juba mingisugust eelteadmisi, eelinfot, mingisuguste teekondade läbimist või kes see nii-öelda profiil on?
Profiil on inimene, kellega on kokkulepe, et me siseneme koos ja me väljume koos. Et poole pealt ära minna ei ole võimalik ja inimene, kes on võimeline hoidma ruumi endale ja teistele, et ikkagi emotsionaalselt tuleb olla stabiilne selle ruumi jaoks ja samas on oodatud kõik, kes juba teavad, et natuke rohkem on võimalik siin maailmas, kes juba on ennast avanud uuele teele, kes tahavad sügavamat kontakti oma tegeliku põhjusega, miks sa oled siin, mida sa tulid tegema, et kui sa tunned, et sa oled seest natuke, mingi koht on meil tühi või ei ole seda kohta käes, et oota, mis siin ikkagi toimub, siis enda see tervendus või see helirännak ja kõik see rütm, mis me seal saame, et me ehitamegi rütmi peale muusikas, on niisugune mees- ja naisenergia tasakaalustamine, mis on igas loos, igas muusikas. Ja selle peale nagu siis sinna tulla astumine, kus sa kogedki seda hirmu, et sa oled kõigi ees ja nüüd on sinu kord midagi teha, et tuleb sellised väga tundlikult Porangui'd valmistab selle ruumi ette, et mina tegin ka just seda hääle avamise workshopi ja läksin seal võib-olla, ütleme, et mul on see, et ma tahan minna natukene liiga kaugele, isegi kui ruum võib-olla ei ole valmis selleks, kuigi meil oli väga kihvt ja inimesed armastasid seda, siis mina sain aru, et sellist levelit nagu Porangui'd läbi toob, et ma tahan ise seal ruumis olla, et veel rohkem õppida ja aru saada, kuidas olla tundlikum selle suhtes, mida ruum vajab, nagu veel suurema tundlikkusega. Ja et kunagi ei ole asi selles, mida mina tahan, vaid on see küsimus, on see, mida ruum vajab. Ja see on iga ruumi hoide, see ei ole vahet, kas sa räägid laval, kas sa oled esineja, kas sa müüd oma toodet. Küsimus on see, kui kohal sa suudad olla, et märgata, mida üldse vajab sinu sihtgrupp. Ja sellega ilmselt vastan ka küsimusele, et kes on sihtgrupp, kõik, kes astuvad ette, kõik, kes vajavad mingil määral suuremat julgust, et kas iseennast esitleda, oma toodet esitleda, midagi, mida sa oled tulnud tooma, et muutust läbi tuua, sest et inimesed on ju oma olemuselt kõik head, me kõik tahame jagada seda, millesse me ise usume. Aga reeglina see flow jääb kinni siis, kui tuleb ette trauma ja kui trauma tekib kiirendus, hääl tõuseb, kõik tähelepanu kaob ära ja tekib siuke kaootiline energia ja see ruum võimaldab tulla sinna kaose punkti ja tunda, et see on turvaline, et võtta see samm tagasi ja näha, et keegi tuleb ja ütleb, et näed, vaata, see kaos tekkis nagu, ta ei näita sulle, on ju, aga sa tunned ise ära, et see on siin minu sees, sellepärast see on ruumis ja et kuidas ma lõdvestun nüüd siit läbi ja mitte ei anna jõudu teisele, keegi teine ei ole meie tervendaja, mina olen see, minu autoriteet ongi see, et ma toon oma tervenduse ise läbi ja läbi selle saan oma väe. Kas meil...
Issand, mis juhtus?
Surm ei lõppe ära erinevalt muutus.
Võtan selle ära endale. Nii, arvad, me oleme tagasi? Ilusti?
Jaa, meil tuli mingisugune väike sinna vahele.
Ja, et mulle tundubki, et see üks oluline koht, mis selle retriidi juures on just nimelt see alistumine ja see alistumine just nimelt sellest, et lähed läbi, et minna läbi nendest plokkidest, ebamugavustunnetes, sellest häbist, sellest piinlikkust, sellest haavatavusest, et kõigest sellest nii-öelda alistuda kõigesse sellesse ja siis läbi alistumise sellest läbi minna ja kui alistuda ja sellest läbi minna, siis see kelle või millega me kohtume, oleme ju me ise. Ja siis, kui me kohtume lõpuks sellel tasandil ise endaga, siis see jõud, mis sealt tekib või noh, et see sünergia, mis meie enda sees tekib, kui me oleme ühenduses iseendaga, et see on see vägi, mis paneb asjad liikuma või mis viib asjad hoopis teisele tasandile. Väga lahe, väga lahe. Ja mulle igal ma ise ootan väga seda kontserti ja ma olen väga-väga-väga kindel, et see retriit saab olema nii just nimelt transformeeriv
ja väga lõbus ka. Porangui'ga käib kaasas tohutu siuke rõõmu ja lõbu energia ja siuke lapsemeelne kergus, seesmise lapse tervendus ka, aga väga konstrueeritud viisil, et me lihtsalt ei löö lulli, vaid me reaalselt toome muutust läbi, aga niimoodi, et see samal ajal on ka lõbus ja huvitav ja inspireeriv ja avardav ja teame, et lahkume sealt astudes uutesse sussidesse.
Ja mulle tundub, et eks see on ka seal, nagu ta ise ütles, et tõenäoliselt inimesed lahkuvad sealt paremate ja ilusamatena kui see, millisena nad sinna tulid. Et sest see on ju midagi, mis teda nii tugevalt kannab, mis tähendab seda, et meie saame sellest ennast puudutatuna, on ju, kes iganes siis temaga mis viisil kokku puutuvad.
Ja retriidile on siis avaldus, kus sa täidad selle avalduse ära. Ja kui sa vastad siis seal avaldusel nii-öelda õiged linnukesed oled pannud, siis teeme sulle kontrollkõne või siis saadame sulle aktsepteerimiskirja. Ja veel on avaldused avatud, et sulle, kes sa tunned ennast ära või sulle, kellel sul on ka küsimusi, sa võid mulle julgelt helistada, küsida üle oma hirmukohad või mingid kohad, mis sul on tõusnud ülesse või tõusevad ülesse või kui sa tunned, aga päris täpselt ei saa aru, miks sa peaksid sinna ruumi tulema. Et siis võid julgelt küsida kõiki küsimusi, et me oleme olemas selle jaoks, et ruumi jõuaksid kõik need, kes peavad jõudma.
Ja infot saabki siis nii tema enda kodulehelt on ju, kui ka siis Facebookis on olemas nii see workshop või nii see nii kontsert kui ka siis retriit. Retriit on siis Esimeses Estonia Retreat 2023 ja või see live esinemine on siis Porangui'd live Estonia Beauty Tour 2023. Ma kindlasti panen need lingid siia juurde ka, et saaks otselinkidega kohe 123, et ei peaks ise kuskilt otsima hakkama, aga lihtsalt kui sa kuulad ja ei saa kohe nii-öelda klikata, siis vähemalt tead, mismoodi neid sealt Facebookist üles otsida.
Ma küsiks siia veel, Dali, sa ei olnud varem Porangui'ga kokku puutunud, kuidas sa kogesid teda või mis sa kogesid?
Ja mulle meeldis tema, ongi siuke lõbus, kerge nagu light energy, et see mulle meeldis ja samal ajal mulle meeldis see, et ta oli väga, et on näha, et ta ei räägi lihtsalt oma asjadest, vaid ta nagu elab oma asju. Ehk et seal on hästi suur erinevus, et a la kas sa hingad või sa muutud hingamiseks. Ehk et seda shifti oli temal tunda, et no eks tal on kogemust ka juba hästi pikalt, on ju 25 aastat on oma asju teinud, aga jah, seda oli minu jaoks tugevalt tunda, et ta nagu inglise keeles on see väljend walk your talk, on ju, et noh, teoorias me oskame kõik olla terved ja õiged ja osavad ja nii-öelda rääkida õiget juttu, aga et ta kuidagi nagu paistab välja ja see, kuidas ta jagas enda asju, see minu jaoks näitas, et kuna ta oli nii ehedalt selle juures, et siis ta päriselt mõtleb kõike seda, mida ta teeb ja ütleb ja kuidas ta maailma näeb, et see ei ole lihtsalt pakend, vaid see on päriselt ka sisu.
Nii on.
Aga aitäh sulle, Jana, selle nagu kõige eest, aitäh selle enda jagamise eest, aitäh selle eest, et sa organiseerisid meile selle Porangui'ga vestluse, aitäh, et seda siia Eestisse organiseerisid. Ma arvan, et see on nähes Mindvalley üritusel oma vestluskaaslase reaktsiooni, kui ta kuulis, et Porangui'd tuleb Eestisse, siis tal oli nagu, oh my god, nagu how the hell, kuidas kurat te selle mehe siia Eestisse saite, et ta on nagu maailma nii tipptegija ja temast paremat oma valdkonnas ei ole. Et siis ma sain aru küll, oh wow, tundub, et see on nagu siuke hidden treasure, millest väga paljud võib-olla ei tea veel, aga täiega peaksid teadma. nii et aitäh, et sa seda tööd teed ja see tema siia tood ja see kindlasti ei ole lihtne ja ei ole ka nii-öelda ei emotsionaalselt lihtne kui ka nii-öelda füüsiliselt, et noh, iga korraldusega on 100 miljon pisiasja, on ju, pluss emotsionaalselt kõige sellega ka nii-öelda toime tulemine ja kõik läbi tegema ja juba kasvõi see, et, et, et sa võtsid selle vastutuse ja ta siia kutsusid, on ju, et igal juhul väga-väga-väga äge. Aitäh.
Ja aitäh, et oled selleks vahesillaks, et kõik jõuaksid ruumi, kes peavad jõudma ja suured tänud sulle, et sa tõstad ka inimeste kvaliteeti läbi teadlikkuse. Et
aitäh.
Suur tänutunne su ees, aitäh.
Aitäh. Nii et kohtume kõikidega, kes vähegi tunnevad seda kutset 17. augustil Fotografiskas Porangui'd kontserdil ja kõikidega, kes tunnevad veelgi sügavamat kutset, siis 19–24 august tema erilisel retriidil. Tšau.